Well, it was a nice end to what was almost a boring game. I think it's safe to say Wolves had so much possession in that game, yet did nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing with it. How many shots on target did they have? Oh, none. They did have a few shots, but literally threatened nothing on target. United today are 27 shots, a little bit wasteful. 9 of those on target. Quite a few big chances, I think it's safe to say. Ones that you think you probably could have put a few more away. Keeper making his debut and did bloody well in doing it. I thought it was quite sharp. Really, really interesting how and where we allowed Wolves possession though, because I thought United held the ball at well times, and I thought Wolves held the ball at times, but I thought United held our possession a little bit higher up the pitch, and Wolves just seemed to knock it around their defence, and highlighted by the fact that Craig Dawson made the most passes on the pitch. After that being Ruben Neves, and then for United it was Christian Eriksen, Victor Lindelof who made the most passes, but less than Dawson and Neves. I thought, again, Bruno creating chances, Victor Lindelof creating chances. Is it any coincidence? We touched on this over the last couple of weeks. When United haven't had Bruno Fernandes, when United haven't had Martinez in central defence, I feel like we have struggled to create chances. And I don't think people love the headline, don't they? People love actually, by putting Luke Shaw left back, we just created more chances. I don't think that was the case. I think Wolves are a team that do allow you to create chances. They do sit back and they do defend in numbers and they do hold the ball quite well, but they do concede chances. I also don't think it's nothing to do with Luke Shaw going on there as well. I think there's shades of grey with this. And Luke Shaw, as good as he's been at centre half, Manchester United lose something when he's played centre half and not playing left back, because when he plays at left back, he progresses the ball quite nicely and he makes things happen a little bit. So on multiple reasons, it was nice to see Varane back in the team. But I want to talk about the winner. United haven't had that killer. Even Marcus Rashford of late, playing off the shoulder and us putting balls through like that, hasn't really happened. It just hasn't really happened. But I think having the goal threat, and I know Anthony Martial scored today, but I think he could have done better as well. I think there was a couple of chances where he fluffed his lines. It was nice for him to get on the score sheet. And it was nice to see 2 goal scorers as well, by the way, that aren't Marcus Rashford, that have actually scored goals for United, because when it sort of came out yesterday, looks like there's no Marcus Rashford, you're like, all right, who's going to score the goals for us? Because this United team at the moment doesn't have goals in it. So when you start looking at having people like Garnacho, who's had a great breakout season, certainly not sitting here proclaiming him to be world class, just think he's a very exciting player. And one of the things that I love about him is he's just uber direct. You could be in acres of space next to him. He's like, cool story, nerd. I'm having a shot. And that's exactly the sort of mentality you need sometimes in your forwards. You need that selfishness. You need that mentality where they think they're amazing, whether they are or not, because then it's going to lead them to try some stuff. They're going to back themselves and they're going to try and make things happen. And that's literally what Garnacho did. And it came at a nice time as well, because I thought United were not rattled, but you could just see the way the game was going. You're like, oh, please don't throw this away. We've had some nice results go our way this weekend. Spurs have absolutely shit the bed. I don't know what's going on there. I just watched Newcastle Leeds as well. Nice to see Newcastle fluff their lines. They've got a far superior goal difference to us, so it's going to go down to the wire, or who blinks first between us and them, who's going to end up on top. But I think it was nice to see United actually turn up and do our job. We can get into the top 4 just on the back of our home form. And we might need to get into the top 4 just on the back of our home form. I think Liverpool are going to go very close, and they could easily overtake ourselves or Newcastle. It's literally just going to be a case of who manages to remain fairly consistent. And I think having Rafael Varane back, and the big one, actually, I think, is Garnacho. And I think I would keep him and do what we did with him today. I wouldn't necessarily just throw him straight into the starting 11. I would have him as that impact player, because the tempo and energy that he brings and the excitement that he brings from the bench, I think in the last 15, 20 minutes of a game, isn't an option that we've had. In recent weeks, what have we done? Bring Wout Weghorst on. We know he's not a goal threat. We know he's not got the blistering pace. We know he's not going to change the tempo up. Okay, his link play might be all right, but that's it. He might press a little bit, but that's not game-changing. That's not what a game-changing substitution does. And I think that was what we've needed. We've needed a bit of a spark like that. We've needed someone to come and take the pressure off like that, and someone to take the game forward. And that's the big interesting one. But yeah, I mean, solid performance. Again, another decent performance from Bruno Fernandes. Wolves are a frustrating team to play against. Obviously, you got them over the line. We got them over the line. We got it over the line. But they are a team that are capable of frustrating because they do have ability. And they've got some really good players in there. It's interesting how they've completely crumbled the way they have and find themselves in the relegation scrap. I know they're safe now, and I know that there was no pressure on them coming into today's game. But I thought that was also a little bit frustrating, and it's a weird mentality for United to have to go in. I think I'd rather be playing a team that still needed to fight for its life, because I think they're the sort of team that are maybe a bit too nervous. I think when you come into a game like this and you're playing an opposition that maybe doesn't have the pressure of relegation hanging over them, maybe we're at Old Trafford, we've got nothing to lose. I think that's a dangerous mindset for a team to come to Old Trafford with, especially with some of the attacking talent like Adama Traore that they've got. They could have done something. So I'd be questioning Wolves. If I was a Wolves fan, I'd be going like, what was all that about, lads? I know you've just survived relegation, but that doesn't mean that you clock off. Because where was the attacking threat? You literally couldn't have lost. You literally could have just done whatever and make it happen. Where was the ingenuity? Where was the bravery? Probably not a good sign for them, and probably half the reason why they were down there in the first place. Garnacho, 3 passes and a goal. And ultimately, that's the most important thing in football, isn't it? Is scoring goals. And Garnacho's had a hell of a season on the goal scoring and chance creation front for the amount of minutes that he's played. I think he'd be very happy with himself. Really good rookie season from him. Excited to see what next season brings. Possibly even with Palestri. You're going to have Ahmad to throw in the mix. We're developing a little bit of depth in those wide areas. It's about time. We just need someone to lead the line. And I think we could do some bits next season. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll see you in the next one. Laters.